Welcome back, CEO. You're listening to the CEO Shift Show, the movement for the business owner who's finally done living inside a company that drains them and ready to build a business that actually supports the life they want to live. This is where overwhelmed operators become leaders. This is where structure replaces chaos, and where your identity rises above the noise and your business becomes a tool, not a trap. Before we go anywhere today, if you haven't already, hit the like, share, and subscribe. This movement grows because leaders like you decide to rise, and someone in your world needs to hear this more than they need another motivational quote. So now, today's episode. This is a big one. We're doing your 2025 CEO audit. And I'm not talking about the cute version with pretty worksheets that tell you, you're doing great, sweetheart. No. We're doing the audit that reveals the truth. The audit that exposes the leaks, that tells you, without flinching, what's working, what's weak, and what you absolutely must fix before 2026 hits. Listen carefully. Clarity is not kind, it is powerful. And today we're choosing power. Next week, we're going to do the holiday edition, building a business that runs without you, which, if you've ever wrapped presents with a laptop open behind you, yeah, you're going to need that episode. But today, we're cutting through the fog. So let's dive in. Let me take you inside one of the most pivotal CEO conversations I've had this year. A client walked into our call looking like he had aged a decade in 6 months. He's a strong leader. He's got years of experience. He's got deep integrity. He's smart, capable, well-respected. And yet behind the scenes, his business was bleeding out. So he sat down and he looked at me and he said, with a mixture of disbelief and shame, he said, Carol, I don't understand. We've had our busiest year ever. My team is solid. Clients love us. But the numbers, we're down $250,000. I could hear the exhaustion in his voice and that quiet panic, the guilt, the internal narrative that every overwhelmed CEO knows far too well. His internal question was, how am I working this hard and ending up with nothing? So here's the part that a lot of people just don't understand. He wasn't a failing business. This was a successful business built on a fragile system. He wasn't losing money because he was irresponsible or inexperienced. He was losing money because he was leading from instinct, not insight. Because you can be talented, driven, respected, and still drowned if the business is built on guesswork. So instead of giving him a pep talk, instead of talking about vision boards for the new year, instead of comforting him with, you're doing your best, we did something far more powerful. We looked directly at the truth. We pulled apart the entire business, not to shame or blame him, but to reveal the actual forces working against him. And here's what we found. Leak number 1, job costing was inconsistent. Some jobs were perfectly profitable, while others were bleeding thousands. It wasn't because our numbers weren't clear, but no one was in a position to be able to see the pattern. Number two, the margins, they were being eroded silently. A material increase here, a labor overage there, small things, unnoticeable individually, but collectively, a slow and steady drain. And then week number 3 was the estimating accuracy hadn't evolved with the industry. He was estimating like it's 2019, but delivering in 2025. And the math was quietly eating him alive. In week number 4, project management was reactive. Everything was handled, but nothing was documented. Everything moved forward, but nothing was predictable. Another leak, decision bottleneck that was square on his shoulder. For him, he needed every approval. He needed to do every adjustment. People had to go for him for every exception, every question. He wasn't leading. He was babysitting a business that had outgrown its already non-existent infrastructure. So here's the truth that hit him the hardest. Maybe it hits you too. He didn't actually have a financial problem. He had a visibility problem, a systems problem, an identity problem, because the identity that built the business was not the identity required to scale. So we rebuilt his business one truth at a time. We clarified the real cost of delivery. We recalibrated his pricing. We installed a simple job cost tracker. And we created a decision ladder so that the team could move without him. We realigned his estimatings to real-world conditions. We gave him weekly financial visibility that he had never had before. And we replaced his adrenaline with architecture. And here's the part that still gives me chills. Since then, his revenue had barely changed, about 7%. But his profit shot up by $500,000. Let me say that again, $500,000. He didn't hustle harder. He didn't burn himself out more. He didn't sacrifice his evenings, weekends, and his sanity. Because once he could see the truth, he could finally fix the truth. When things in your business are invisible, it creates overwhelm. We created clarity for him, which then became power. He didn't have to become a different person, but he did become a different leader. This is what happens when you stop running from the numbers and start looking at them like a CEO. This is the power of an audit. It's not the fluffy kind. It's the truth-forward kind. It's the moment where a business stops being a black hole and starts becoming a wealth engine. And this right here, this transformation, this is the exact reason we audit your business today. Let me tell you about Frank, because his story is the story of many emerging CEOs who are doing everything right and still losing ground. When Frank came into our first audit session, he didn't show up defeated. He showed up angry. Angry at the numbers, the pressure, and angry at himself for not being further along by now. Angry that every year seemed to demand more from him without seemingly giving anything back. He sat down and said, "Carol, I'm doing everything I can, and I'm still staring at a $30,000 loss. I just don't get it." I could feel the frustration under his words. This wasn't a man who was avoiding work. This was a man who had been carrying his business on his back long past the point of reason. And if you've ever been here, you already know this feeling. That invisible pressure that sits right between your ribs. That low-grade anxiety that wakes you up at 3 a.m. That thought that if you just try harder, push harder, be smarter, sacrifice more, it will finally all balance out. But here's the truth Frank hadn't seen yet. He wasn't failing. He was still leading like the technician that he used to be, instead of the CEO he needed to become. Frank had built his business with his hands, with his skill, with his grit, with his pride of getting things done right. But the technicians scale effort, CEOs scale infrastructure, and Frank didn't have the infrastructure. He had the adrenaline, he had the instinct, he had the experience, but he didn't have the clarity. Everything was bottlenecked and on his shoulders. Let me walk you through what his year actually looked like. He was doing sales because he knows the clients the best. He was handling estimate because he wants everything done right. He was approving the timelines because the team still asked him first. He was putting out fires because he's the one that can fix it the fastest. And he was replacing team accountability with personal responsibility because, honestly, it's just easier if I do it. Sound familiar? This wasn't a leadership failure. It was an identity mismatch. Frank was operating as the guy who started the business, not the guy who was supposed to scale it. So when we did this audit, we didn't just look at the numbers. We looked at patterns. And here's what we found. Leak number 1 was pricing insecurity. He was underpricing certain jobs because he didn't fully trust his own value. That's a technician habit, by the way. Leak number 2, estimating inconsistently. So some estimates were dialed right in, others were based on gut instinct, and that variance was costing him thousands. Leak number 3 were the delegation gaps. He had a team, but the team didn't have a clarity. So they waited while he stepped in and while he burned out. Leak number 4 was the unrefined lanes of responsibility. Everyone helped with everything, which meant no one owned anything. Leak number 5 was the cash flow blind spots. Revenue was coming in, but expenses weren't aligned with the reality. And the timing, but the biggest leak of all, wasn't operational. It was emotional. Frank didn't trust the business to run without him because he didn't trust himself to lead differently. He was stuck in the identity of, if I don't do it, I won't get it done right. And that belief was costing him tens of thousands of dollars a year and years of his life. So we got together and we rebuilt everything. We built it from identity. We recalibrated pricing. We replaced estimating guesswork with an actual system. We created responsibility lanes so every team member knew exactly what they owned. And we set up cash flow visibility so he could see the truth every single week, not just every quarter. And we built decisions into the structure and not his brain. And slowly, something shifted. Frank stopped managing and he started leading. He stopped reacting and he started anticipating. He stopped apologizing for raising the standards and he started enforcing them. And the business responded. And by the end of the year, he turned a $30,000 loss into a $30,000 profit. That's a $60,000 swing. He didn't have to do more hustle. All he had to do was get clear. Because once Frank shifted into the identity of the scalable CEO, the business finally had permission to rise without him. And this is an identity. You can't outsource it. This is the moment every CEO hits. And this audit, the one we're doing today, that's the exact process that breaks you out of the operator identity and ushers you into the CEO you were meant to become. All right, CEO. Now we're going to step into the heart of this audit, because the truth is a business doesn't fail from one big catastrophe. Businesses crumble from accumulated neglect of clarity, neglect of structure, and neglect of identity, and neglect of truth. This is where we're going to be stripping away the excuses, wiping away the fog, and looking directly at what your business is trying to tell you. The CEO audit is built on 5 pillars, 5 truth centers, 5 non-negotiables. So let's go deeper than we've ever gone. Pillar number 1 is financial stability. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. And you're running a feeling, not a company. I understand most CEOs avoid the numbers because they're afraid of what they're going to find. But that very same avoidance creates the chaos. It breeds the overwhelm, and it turns a good business into a barely surviving one. And I get it, you're tired. You're tired because you're running a financially invisible business. And visibility isn't just about cash. It's about control. It's about knowing which offers make money, which offers drain money, where inefficiency hides, and where pricing is misaligned, and where cash keeps slipping through the cracks and you can't see it. Financial stability equals emotional stability. When the numbers are clear, you actually stop spiraling. You stop reacting, and you're finally now able to make decisions and lead. So here's a couple of audit questions for you. Where are you financially blind? And what is that blindness costing you? Pillar number 2 is operational. If your business is falling apart when you step away, you have built a business around your presence, not your process. That's not leadership. You have become the bottleneck, not because you want to be controlling, but because you never had the structure to support it. So you became the structure. And the truth is that your energy is not a scalable system. Operational resilience is what happens when the business takes responsibility for continuity, not you. When workflows run without firefighting, when delivery is predictable, when communication is systematic, when deadlines aren't dependent on your mood, decisions don't bottleneck your day. The business holds itself, and then you can finally breathe. If you disappeared for 10 days, what would break? And why have you allowed that to continue? Pillar 3, team readiness. A team that waits is a team that hasn't been led. A team that guesses is a team that hasn't been empowered. A team that panics is a team without structure. And when your team doesn't move without you, that isn't a them issue. That's a systems issue. And it's a leadership identity issue. You don't need a better team. You need a team that knows. what they own, how they decide, who signs off, what success looks like, what authority they hold, and where the boundaries live. Your team, people, they don't thrive in chaos. They thrive in clarity. So here's a question. Have you built a team of leaders or a team trying to wait for you? Pillar number 4, lead generation. If your growth depends on referrals, luck, or whatever comes in, you're not running a business, you're rolling the dice. And dice don't create financial stability. They create anxiety, strained decisions, uneven cash flow, and unpredictable months. Lead gen consistency is not a marketing problem. It's a CEO thinking problem. And it requires clarity of your message, of your audience, of your offer, of your authority platform, and your visibility rhythm. When leads are inconsistent, your emotional regulation is inconsistent. Your leadership is inconsistent. Your planning is inconsistent. And inconsistent leadership creates inconsistent growth. So here's a question. Are you generating leads intentionally or reacting to whatever arrives? And finally, pillar number 5, your CEO identity. This is the deepest pillar, the one everything else hinges on. Because a business cannot outgrow the identity of a person leading it. You cannot build a scalable business from the identity of a technician. You cannot build a resilient business from the identity of an overwhelmed operator. You cannot build a sellable business from the identity of a firefighter. Identity drives behavior. Behavior drives systems. Systems drive outcomes. And most CEOs are trapped in a mismatch. They want scalable results, but they're still making decisions like a starter phase founder. They want freedom, but they're still micromanaging like a one-person show. They want a reliable team, but they're still holding on to every decision out of fear. And they want a business that runs without them, but they're still leading like someone afraid to step back. Identity is everything. So here's your question. Are you leading from the identity you've already outgrown or the identity that you're ready to claim? This is the turning point. This is the shift. This is the moment where everything can now change. Let's talk tools. Because insight without action doesn't create transformation. And awareness is step number 1. But implementation, that's where your next evolution happens. I've built these tools for one purpose. To give you a business you can finally trust. Not a business that drains you. Not a business that's held together by willpower. A business that can actually hold itself together. So wherever you are on your CEO journey, whether you're in the early stages of stepping out of the weeds, or you're ready for your business to function like the scalable asset it's always meant to be, I'm asking you to hear this clearly. There is a tool for every level of support you need. Let's take a minute. Let's walk through them. If you're ready for just the DIY, the free tools, the CEO Growth Engine tools, which is our starter level, these are for the CEOs who are ready for some clarity, some visibility, some momentum. And if you're listening right now and thinking, Carol, I don't even know where to begin, this is your starting point. These are not just cute little worksheets. They're not inspirational journal prompts. These are the foundational tools that stabilize business at the structural level. Inside the growth engine, you'll get the 2025 CEO audit template, so you can finally see what's working and what's weak. The CEO time leverage blueprint, the shortcut to getting 5 to 10 hours back immediately. The weekly CEO rhythm, the exact operating cadence that stops reflective chaos. The cash flow tracker, visibility into your money so you could stop bracing for every payment cycle. And the burnout recovery checklist, which provides clarity on which system gaps are draining you. Then there's the profit shift starter tools. It's the basics of margin repair and revenue clarity. These are the tools that move you from overwhelmed operator to organized, informed CEO fast. So you can download them at carolsurbey.com on my free tools tab. You can start building that foundation today. We have some additional DIY tools. These ones you have to pay for. It's called the Tool Vault. It's for CEOs who are ready for structure, systems, and some strategic growth, but aren't quite ready for coaching yet. So if you're thinking, I can do this, I just need someone to walk me through it and show me how, this is your level. The Tool Vault is the full library. Every system, every workbook, every operational tool from all of our pillars. It's organized, it's ready, all with the exact structure you need to implement like a leader who's already scaled. And the work in there is not theory and it's not fluff. It's the architecture your business should have come with. When you're ready to install real systems without reinventing the wheel, this is where you go. You can explore that at the scalablecEOacademy.com. We also have a done with you option, which is executive one-to-one and team coaching. This is for the CEO who is really ready to evolve faster and wants a guide. And if you want the audit done with you, if you want help fixing the gaps with your precision, if you want to shift your identity, your systems, and your leadership all at the same time, this is where we work together. Bi-weekly sessions, full access to the tools, deep operational support, leadership development, team communications, real accountability, real transformation. This is where I walk with you through the evolution so you don't do it alone and you don't waste yet another year in the same patterns. You can book your call with me at carolsurbey.com under Book a Consult. Clarity is the first shift. The structure is the second. Identity is the third. And these tools at all the levels exist so that you're no longer building your future on exhaustion, reactivity, or guesswork. Your business is a tool. Your systems are your leverage, and your leadership, that's the engine. And you deserve a business that finally supports your life, not consumes it.